Sit with me for a moment, not as someone scrolling, not as someone passing time, just as a human being. I was sitting and scrolling through Facebook, and I saw accounts with 10 million, 15 million, 20 million followers. And I stopped, not out of jealousy, not out of comparison, but out of a quiet question that rose up from somewhere deeper. Who is listening to me? And the answer was honest, not many. And that moment did not stay on the screen. It moved inward because it wasn't really about followers. It was about something older, something I have carried for a long time. A question that does not come from one day, but from a lifetime. If I have lived this much, if I have carried this much, if I have survived this much, why does it feel like I am still waiting to be seen? I didn't pick this journey. The journey picked me. From the very beginning, before I had words, before I had a choice, before I had an understanding, I was already inside something heavy. And when your life starts that way, you don't spend your early years discovering yourself. You spend your early years surviving yourself. And survival changes you. Not always in ways people can see, but in ways you feel every day. You learn how to hold your breath emotionally. You learn how to carry what was never meant for you. You learn how to keep going, even when there's no one walking beside you. And if I'm being honest, there is a kind of tired that comes from that. Not sleep tired, not I need a break tired, but something deeper. It's a soul tired, lifetime tired. When does my spirit get to exhale? And that's the truth. Most people don't say out loud because it sounds like weakness, but it's not weakness. It's what happens when you've been strong for longer than anyone ever noticed. So when I ask, who is listening to me? I'm not really asking about numbers. I'm asking something deeper. Does my life matter in a way that is seen? Because when you have lived a life where not many people showed up for you, you start to wonder if your voice will be met the same way. Quiet, unanswered, unheld. But here is where something shifts, not all at once, not in a dramatic way, but quietly. The truth is, being unseen does not mean you are unheard. And being unheard does not mean your voice has no place. Sometimes it means your voice is still finding the people who can recognize it. Because not everyone can hear truth. Not because they are incapable, but because truth requires readiness. It requires stillness. It requires a kind of honesty that not everyone has reached yet. And if your life has been lived in deep places, then your voice will not call everyone. It will call the ones who have also lived there. And that takes time. Now I know what you are thinking. I have thought it too. But if God knows my heart, if God knows who I am, if God knows the day I will die, why the delay? That question is real, and it does not come from doubt. It comes from exhaustion, from standing in your truth for a long time and not seeing it reflected back. But here is the truth that does not always feel good to hear. Timing is not a reward system. It's not based on how much you have suffered. It's not based on how much you have endured. It's not based on how ready you feel. It's based on where you are now in this moment in time, on when what you carry meets where it can land. And sometimes those two things don't meet as quickly as we want them to. But that doesn't mean you have been forgotten. Because if you look closely, you have never actually been alone. You are guided by the divine intelligence, the God source. They have been with you, not always loudly, not always in ways that made everything easier, but in ways that kept you here. And that matters more than you think. Because there is a version of your life where you did not make it this far, and yet you are still here. Not because everything worked out, not because everything was fair, but because something greater than you never let go of you. And that brings us here to this moment. You have no choice. You cannot go backwards. There is no place to go but forward. That is not defeat. That is truth. Because forward is not always a decision. Sometimes forward is what remains when everything else no longer fits. And I want to give you something simple. Not something that requires you to be anything more than you are right now. The next time the question, who is listening to me, rises again, I want to be able to pause and ask something different. Where in my life am I still not fully listening to myself? Because sometimes we are waiting to be heard in places that were never meant to hold our voice. And sometimes the first recognition we need is not from the world, it's from within. Not to replace the world, not to avoid being seen, but to stabilize something inside so that when the world does meet you, you are not depending on it to confirm your worth, because your worth was never waiting on an audience, and your freedom is not waiting on numbers. Freedom begins the moment you stop measuring your life by who has acknowledged it, and start recognizing that you have already lived something real. And real takes time to reach people. So you are not late. You are not unseen. Your life has not been wasted. You are in the part of the journey where everything you have lived is still gathering, still forming, still finding its place in the world. And I know that doesn't always feel like enough. But stay here. Stay in your truth. Stay in your voice. Stay in your becoming. Because the question is not, when will I be free? The question is, can I recognize the freedom that is already beginning to take shape, even if it doesn't look like what I expected? And if you can sit with that, even for a moment, even without a full answer, That's the beginning, not of something new, but something that has been trying to reach you all along. And when your spirit finally exhales, it won't be because everything changed. It will be because you stopped holding yourself inside a question that was never meant to define you. Stay with me. You are closer than you think. This is Butterfly, the Becoming.